Hello and welcome to another Mr. Marriott Maths video. Today we're going to go through question 3 of the Leeds Maths School Further Statistics 1 Assessment number 7. In previous years, the marks obtained in a French test by students attending a top-notch college has been modelled satisfactorily by a normal distribution of a mean of 65 and a standard deviation of 9. Teachers in the French department at Top Notch Knowledge suspect that this year their students are, on average, underachieving. In order to investigate this suspicion, the teachers selected a random sample of 35 students to take the French test and found that their mean score was 61.5. Investigate at a 5% level of significance the teacher's suspicion. So first of all, we've got to state our hypotheses. Our null hypothesis is that the mean is equal to 65. Our alternative hypothesis is going to be our mean mu is less than 65, because the suspicion is that the students are underachieving. We now need to assume that the null hypothesis is true. And if H0 is true, X bar will be distributed normally with mean 65 and variance 9 squared over 35. And now we need to test our test statistic. So we're going to find a probability that X bar is less than or equal to, although in the case of a normal distribution, it doesn't matter about the equality part or the inequality. And we're going to test 61.5. The probability that X bar is less than or equal to 61.5 is equal to 0.0107 to 4 decimal places and at least 3 significant figures. This is less than 5%. So I'm going to reject the null hypothesis. What does this mean in context? Well, this means that there is sufficient evidence at the 5% level of significance to suggest that this year the students are, on average, underachieving. And this concludes our hypothesis test. So moving on to part B, I'm asked to explain the meaning of the significance level in the context of this question. So when we perform a hypothesis test, we assume the null hypothesis is true, and if our observation is very unlikely at the threshold of the significance level, we then reject the null hypothesis. However, this does mean that there is a 5% probability that if the null hypothesis is true, we are going to reject the null hypothesis. So the significance level is the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when the null hypothesis is true. So we're going to put this into context. The probability of concluding that students are underachieving when they in fact are not, is 5%, or 0.05. So where do the marks for this question come from? There's an independent accuracy mark for hypotheses. There's a method mark for giving the correct distribution. Note that you do have to give the bar on top of the x. Then there's an accuracy mark for getting the correct probability, 0.0107. And last but not least, there's an accuracy mark for giving the correct conclusion in context. For part B, there is an independent accuracy mark for saying that it's the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when the null hypothesis is true, and another independent accuracy mark saying that it's the probability of concluding that students are underachieving when they are not is 5%. And that's where the 6 marks of this question comes from. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.